Hello YouTube, new review, new bike, new company. I've never dealt with these people before. I don't know anything about it. This is the TAMOBYKE T16. So it's sort of this little, I don't know what you want to call it. Like mini bike motocross looking thing. And it's for short riders. The shortest range that I've seen to date, other than some little tiny commuter things that you could throw in the back seat of your car. As far as a full size bike, yeah, this is for a short one. So let's go ahead and go to the intro and come back and talk about this thing.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream.
So I got my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything on this. Again, I'm not very familiar with the company, but they offer a lot of different bikes. So I'd have to say the most confusing thing to me is that there's a lot of them that look the same, but they're not the same. In this case, this bike here is a 1,000 watt motor. I'm gonna say that that's most likely the peak wattage. What I'm guessing is it's probably about a 750 watt motor, you know, just a maintained 750 watt. It says speeds up to 30. You got to watch, I don't know on this one, but a lot of times that speed is whenever you're pedaling. I've talked about it on other bikes, and you've got the cadence sensor kind of fooled, and you're not actually putting any input into it other than to put the pedals around, and it will get up to speed. I don't know if that's the case with this one, but if this really does have a 1,000 watt motor, and it has a 15.6 amp hour battery, that's 48 volts, it could do 30. Now, the payload on this, the overall payload is 330 pounds. That's not too bad. 330 pounds isn't bad at all, because I don't imagine somebody that's, 5'4", that's 330 pounds, but that's what the range of this height is for the bike, 4'5" to 5'4". Now I'm 6 foot tall. I'm still going to get on the bike. We'll still see, it'll look like a trained bear. But as far as I know, it's a regular sized bike. Pretty fat tires. Again, we'll see that here. And it does offer 3 different colors, a pink, a green, and a black on the frame. And then the seat you can get in a black or a brown. I think that the contrast on that's pretty decent. Now, I opted for the green. Pink, I could do pink. I like the bright colors. First of all, it shows up better on the camera. But more importantly, when you're out on the road, if you do take this out on the road and you're riding, you want to be seen as much as possible. So don't necessarily get one that's subdued. The other thing that they offer is a smart app that has some sort of way that it'll control functions on the bike, makes your ride more personalized. So I don't know what's involved there, but the fact that at this price point, which is extremely low, I'm telling you, I can't believe you can get electric bikes as cheap as you can anymore. But the entry level on this, the way that it looks, and for it to have an app, that is something. That is definitely something. And as far as the testing and stuff that they've done on this, the battery is UL listed. That's something that's just recently come into the news. I guess Congress is looking at maybe making all bikes UL listed, electric bikes that come into the country UL listed. They have different levels of UL listings, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It does have an IP54 rating. That's for the battery, and it says that it will go to full charge just 4 to 6 hours. It does have some sort of battery management system. And the tires are in this, getting back to that, they are fat tires. They're 4-inch. They are 20-inch tall. So they're not 24s. They're not 26s. They're 20-inch. And it is a dual suspension. It has front forks that are suspension, that actually compress and rebound. And then it has a mid-mounted rear shock. So you've got a monoshock is what they called it back in the day whenever I was a youngster. And we were into the BMX bicycle scene. If you had a monoshock, your bike was probably pretty heavy. but it is a way to get suspension on the rear and be pretty functional. Now, as far as the bike itself, it's a little bit heavier because it is carbon steel. It's not an aluminum. So even though the bike isn't very big overall, you're gonna be at 86 pounds for the bike. So don't think you're gonna pick this up and throw it around easily, but still, carbon steel, that's pretty sturdy. You'll definitely be able to beat it up pretty good. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. Look at the packaging. Again, that's an indication to me on how much the manufacturers care about the bike and making sure that it gets there. And then we'll go ahead and put this together. This won't be a step-to-step, assembly. It's pretty straightforward. You have to have some mechanical skills to be able to do this, but I use power tools. Even though I'm sure there's a toolkit included, and I will use a couple of those tools, I'll use power tools to put this thing together because it's more about the review, seeing what the bike looks like together, and having you get my impressions of it. What I see on the surface is that the company is been around for a while, that they have a lot of offerings, that they have a good price point, and they have gone to the extent, like I said, for UL listing of batteries, and they actually, put an app together for it. Doesn't look like they're really just throwing these things together to get them out. All right, so we got a little bit of mowing going on outside. Just ignore that. Packaging looks pretty good, pretty standard. What I like to see is individually made pieces like this to cover certain parts of the bike, versus we have had in the past bikes that we've received that it's just been like packaging peanuts or folded up pieces of cardboard, or this stuff, like this, just shoved down in there in a bunch of different spots. So the fact that these are already formed, probably helped it whenever FedEx tried to, looks like, bounce it off of this end. You can see the box is pretty messed up, but that's kind of a cool color, right? I'm colorblind, but it's kind of, new. And assembly required, obviously. Looks like that I'm gonna have to put the stem on for the handlebars. Looks like I'm gonna have to flip this upside down. I'll have to read the instructions. Oh, here's something here that is nothing more than an empty box. Looks like it fell out in there. That's cool that they included it though. That's really cool. It's always a surprise to see whenever I get new manufacturers how they handle their packaging. Again, it's an indication, This one's pretty good, not bad. So we got the toolkit as expected, right? I mean, you're gonna get basic tools in all of these bikes anymore, and no exception here. Looks like we have some bike caps, some caps for the nuts. This is a little bit different. Don't normally see a T-handle. That's kind of nice. Oh, yeah, instead of giving you Allen wrenches, they give you T-handles. I like that. T-handles are much easier to use, obviously. And looks like some extra brake pads or an extra brake pad. That's nice. Again, another cap for the to protect the nuts on the wheel. Normally, I would just fly through this thing, but yeah, this is all right. So we got an extra set of brake pads, which could come in handy. The wrenches, you got a couple dupes, probably because you're going to be tightening like axle nuts, and then smaller size, and then standard screwdriver, Phillips, and flat tip. We'll go ahead and flip it over to this side. Then you got your pedals, metal pedals. Sometimes they're plastic. I have never had a problem with the plastics, but metal's nice, right? The bike lock is nice. This is kind of a theft deterrent. If somebody wants to get in, they can get in. They can bust this. They can cut these cables. If somebody wants to steal it, they're going to steal it. But the fact that there's a lock on there will stop a lot of bike thieves from even trying. Just for the fact that they're going to be dorking around with this, and it could be that you have it in a busy area, and people are going to start wondering, why is he taking so long to take that out? Oh, license plate light, or license plate mount. Some of the jurisdictions are starting, or states are starting to require that. And then, of course, we've got the user manual. There is a QR code on the back. That's nice. And just enjoy the ride. TAMOBYKE. There you go. Got a couple of QR codes for the register of the bike for your 1-year warranty. If I'm not mistaken, you can extend that warranty. Again, check out the website for that. And then there's the official website also. So let's look at the charger. That's the last thing. See what the amps are on this. Now, 2 amp is a standard charger. That's what everybody includes. And this one is a 2 amp. So that's pretty standard. Nothing wrong with that. Again, especially at this price point, I can't believe they're including some extras. Kind of nice the way they got this set up. I've pulled off some of the plastic already, but those tires are so small, they just put them underneath the frame. I didn't think that they would fit, but it looks nice. I like the way the build is. It's sporty. Kind of reminds me of the little Honda motorcycle they got out, that little Honda Navi. Of course, this is electric and the Navi's gas, and the Navi does like 55, but still, this is, again, for the price, that Navi, you know, you're talking 5 times this price once you get your destination charges and everything done. All right, it's all together. Couple things to point out here as far as the assembly. There's a little bit more involved, but it's still very, very easy. A couple things that I want to point out is that this triple tree top, you're going to remove this piece here and flip it upside down to put it in the correct position. It's just a couple of pinch bolts and then this center bolt here. Once this is in position, you're going to push this I'll call it a triple T, but your fork mount, your top fork mounts, you're going to push this down all the way, and then there's a couple of bolts in here, or Allen heads, that you're going to tighten down. And they give you those teeth handle things that work just fine on that. But you want to have this down all the way. That way it compresses everything and make sure that this bearing stays tight. Then at that point, this will be tightened down a little bit, not crazy. And then these bolts the same. That'll be the pinch bolts. Of course, you'll adjust your handlebars once you got them mounted to an angle that you prefer. I like the angle there. I also like the headlight being kind of low. That's the way they show it in their I don't know, their manual, I guess, at least in the pictures. And I like the headlight. Look at that. Doesn't that look nice? Very nice. Now, I'm going to tell you, again, I was going to touch on this, and that's what I'm doing now. And that is, as far as lights are concerned, if you're riding on the road, buy yourself some expensive aftermarket lights to bolt on your handlebars that flash. I think that we paid $50 or $60 for ours. They're rechargeable. You can plug your phone into it and get a little bit of a charge if you want, but mainly we don't touch that. We want that battery to last as long as possible. It's a very bright strobe. And then for the rear, same thing. Now on this one, the lights for the front and the rear, they're nice. They look presentable. But again, you're not going to necessarily see this on the road unless it's pitch dark and nobody has headlights on. So let me show you what the lights look like at least. On the back here, you have your standard brake light. This isn't crazy bright, but it's a nice trail light. It's a nice park light. And then the other thing that's got, check that out, sequentials. I like the way that looks. I think that's cool. Okay, like I mentioned, 20x4s. You have your monoshock. Of course, you have the front suspension there. The front suspension is not adjustable. You do have hydraulic disc brakes. The display is nice. It'll tell you in the manual, the owner's manual, what to do to get into the speed settings. I changed the speed settings on this, not just the plus and minus, not just the pedal assist, but which the pedal assist also gives you different throttle levels. But I changed the speed settings overall, which you can do with a lot of these bikes, kind of like a secret menu, but they tell you in the owner's manual how to get into it. And then you'll see here, trucking right along. As far as 30, yeah, I guess it could get up there. It sounds like it's close to 30 miles an hour. I would expect it to vibrate and hum a little bit more, whenever you're at 30. So I'm not 100% sure on that. And the fact that I'm real close to the maximum weight, I don't know if I'm the best candidate to find that out. The seat is awesome. The best long seat that I've seen on anything, and that's including a lot of mopeds that I owned back in the 80s and the 2000s. You know, I'd pay $2,000 for a moped, and the seat wasn't even that nice. Very, very classy looking. Again, nice big battery. You get keys with this. The keys are to remove the battery, not to turn it on or off, but just to remove the battery. You can see what your level is here. It'll tell you just by pushing. It'll also tell you up here. Also, whenever you're assembling the headlight, let me tell you this trick. Go ahead and remove the headlight from the brackets. Just go ahead. These are 13mm bolt heads. Take the headlight off those brackets. It'll make it a lot easier to mount. And the bushings that are in there, the sleeves, they are small and big. Make sure you match it up to the correct side. These are bump stops. This is so whenever you're turning all the way that you don't hit the frame. I don't think that that's necessarily something that could, would necessarily happen, but they did put those on there just in case. And also when you're first putting this all together, take this tree mount, it's loose. This top plate will be loose. Take it completely off and route the cables up through in between the frame and in this area. Again, those are just the tips that I can come up with as far as the assembly. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Very nice bike, very, very nice bike. I'm gonna go ahead and ride this up and down the driveway, see what it's like, and I think it's pretty cool. Maybe we can get Heidi to get on this and get her thoughts too, but the links will be down below for this. I don't know if I'll have a discount for this or not. There's a lot of sales that go on. Whenever we first talk with the manufacturers, or even third parties of the manufacturers, they may have some sort of a special going on at that time. By the time the reviews actually come out, it could be that it's surpassed, or it could be that a review has been done, and even though there may be some sort of a discount, they have sales that are even greater discounts than what our little sales code would offer. But if I have a sales code, I'll include it in the link. But I'm telling you, these things are really inexpensive. And as far as who I would think, campground for sure. You could do this at a campground because they look kind of cool. They're relatively small. So if you have a shed that you want to keep them in. As far as when you're camping, you're traveling on the road, sure. They're still 80 some pounds, but I don't know. I don't know who this would fit as far as, they don't fold. So they're small, but they're not small enough to fit in the pass-through. They are small enough to fit in the back of the truck, and they are small enough to fit in the back of a truck with a cap. So that's something, but very, very cool. And the nice thing about it is, of course, you have your shocks in the front and you do have that monoshock, but you can play around with the tire pressures. I have 28 pounds in there. You can play around with those tire pressures and give you a little bit better of a ride. And having those fat tires helps you out on the beach, that's for sure. I mean, it is a 4-inch footprint. The other thing that I wanted to show you on this was, of course, the phone holder. It is complete. It just happened to open up inside there. I didn't mount that, but also, guess what they include? A bike pump. Isn't that cool? So you get a lock, a bike pump, and a phone holder, in addition to your toolkit and, of course, your necessary charger and your license plate bracket. All right, let's get for a ride here. Okay, so this thing boogies. I don't know what the top speed would be, but I just wanted to get a sense of acceleration. I'm 6 foot tall, so I'm definitely bigger than what they say the bike should ride. And I'm 270 pounds, so I'm close to that 330 maximum, and it was comfortable. I don't know if the bike was squealing going, oh my God, he's too fat, but I'll tell you, it was comfortable for me. And I couldn't believe how quick it got up to speed. So the fact that I was talking about that motor being 1,000 peak, I don't know what to say on that, because I still think it's a 750. But, you know, with these controllers, the way they have stuff built into them, they could easily have put something in there to make that 750 feel like 1,000 a lot more sooner in the acceleration part of the algorithm that's in the controller. I don't know if that made any sense, but, you know, they can tune it. They can tune it using the controller to bring power on earlier and get to maximum power faster. I think they might have done that. Wow, this thing was actually kind of quick. I was surprised. I'm going to see if I can get Heidi to ride this. Now, she's 5'4", so let's see what she looks like sitting on it. Because it says from 4'5" to 5'4".
Okay, so far.
Look at that. That fits you perfect.
Actually perfect, yeah.
I love the seat. I think the seat's the coolest part. So Heidi going to do just throttle only, and this will be fun. Let's step inside here so we can stay out of the sun glare. I don't think she expected it to take off that quick. Did you expect it?
Detected at front yard cam.
That was Heidi driving around. What did you think about it?
It's a quick little thing.
Yeah, it is.
You know.
I got to get out of the sun. Let me step over here.
Do you want me to move?
No, you can. Here, try to take it for another ride. Tell me if it's out of control. Now, Heidi rides bikes as fast as they pretty much can go sometimes, so she's not afraid of it.
Very comfortable.
I know.
This is like cool. This is way cool.
It's it's probably one of the closest bikes that fits you.
Yeah.
But look at out in the seat how long it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits me.
The strap purse right here.
Yeah. Heidi's seen pretty much she's been involved with every e-bike review that we've ever done. And most of the time she takes them out for a ride. And she has an idea of what the quality's like of the bike, just as much as I do. Now, with that said, what do you think this bike retails for right now?
In between 600 and 700.
Yeah, it's on the low end. It's like just over $600 now.
Oh, wow.
That's the time of filming. I don't know what's going to happen when you guys are watching this. I don't know if tariffs are going to cause a problem. I don't know. I have no clue. But I'm saying that this bike, even though it's small and compact, it definitely garners the idea that it might be a $900 bike, $800 bike, and it's not. Now, it's a little heavy because it's carbon steel.
You said 87 pounds?
I don't know.
Or
I
80
think,
some pounds?
I have to look.
Right.
I think it is. I'll put it here on the
This would
screen
be a good
somewhere.
pit bike. It'd be a good campground bike. If you only wanted to have one bike, this would suit the whole family.
Yeah, it says right on the box, 13 years and older.
Yeah.
It's a good. I think that like when we were in Vero Beach, we had a little shed for storage, and this
would be
would have been
perfect.
nice for that little shed.
Yeah.
Also, you know, as it is, we have big, huge bike covers for our bikes that we've had. You wouldn't need a big cover.
No.
This would be a lot easier to like tuck underneath the front of your fifth wheel. But as far as when you're hauling it, you're going to need to put it in the bed of the truck. You can't really do anything with the handlebars. You can't lower them, you know. I mean, you can, but you would actually have to be undoing bolts that would eventually wear out. So you don't want to do that. But
It looks to be very well made. It's very comfortable to ride.
Yeah.
Very comfortable.
Yeah, the seat is incredible.
Yeah.
So again, you can get these in different colors. You can get it in pink, this color, and black.
This looks like it to be a mint green.
Yep. And then you can get the seat in this color or brown.
Oh,
So you can mix it up a little bit.
yeah. Cool.
So I'll have Heidi close this out. Again, the links will be down below for this. Just check out the links, see what the discount is. If there is any, like I said, it could be a sale going on that's better than any discount that we could apply anyway. So
As always, we hope to see you out there. Bye.
bye.